Be sure to stay tuned for the Not On My Watch show with Dr. Baruch and Heleese. Today we'll be speaking with Miss Gina Paige from AfricanAncestry.com.
Thank you and welcome to the Not On My Watch show. Gotta love it, man. I'm telling you, I'm having the time of my life. And on the Not On My Watch show here on the eLife Media Network, our goal is to bring to your attention information, people, accomplishments, significant things in our history that you just don't find in the regular mainstream media, and also people that don't get the exposure that we know they should be getting. So our goal is to extend that exposure to you and to them so that we can build and we can grow and we can make some great things happen. We're going to be having special guests all the time, but today we have an extra special guest in that we have Miss Gina Paige of AfricanAncestry.com. So we're going to jump on that right away. Heleese, you doing all right today?
Yeah, I'm doing very well today. Thank you. How are you?
Great, great. My cameraman is going crazy because he's trying to figure out who I'm talking to, but it's all good. I'm doing great. I'm I'm glad to have you on. This is like your second week?
Yes.
Your second week, and you already look like you fit in. You know, you look like you're a part of it. I need to, work on my wardrobe a bit, especially on the African Ancestry show. I should have had some culture on with my little hat thing on and yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, this is somewhat everyday style, so.
Oh, okay. That's what's up. That's what's up.
Bring my little bit of flavor.
Go on, sister. Miss Gina Paige, good morning. How are you?
Hello, I am great. I'm happy to be here.
Great. Well, we are very thankful to have you in the studio, and we're excited about what it is that you're going to be sharing with us today. And that a lot of us don't make the connection to our ancestry, and I just want to put a little spiel out there before we even start going at it. That the fact that we give so much credence and so much energy to something that happened 2,000 years ago, I'm sure there's value in it. There's value in holding on to memories of 2,000 years ago. But then it ought to be value in history that happened since 2,000 years ago. But we seemingly jump, and I'll just speak about my community, my family, maybe my family. We jump from grandma to 2,000 years ago. I'm like, well, wait a minute. It was some other folk. We had some other people in our history before 2,000 years ago. Not that we really know what was going on 2,000 years ago. We have somebody telling us, and we're reading books, and we think it's accurate, and we hope that it's accurate, and we're connecting up and making strong connections to things that happened 2,000 years ago, and we ain't even connected to things that happened 100 years ago. Did you get all that? That was like a rap. So I'm excited about you bridging that gap. I'm excited about you offering to us the opportunity to show our connection to whoever it is we are connected to in the world. And I say that with a smile on my face. So tell us first off, before we jump into our dialogue and our interaction today, I know Heleese has a bunch of questions because she was excited about, you coming on. But before we go into that, who is Gina Paige? Where are you from and what you doing?
I'm a 20th century hip hop loving chick. That's who I am.
That's what's up. I like that. That's the tagline.
But during the day,
right.
I am the president and co-founder of AfricanAncestry.com. And I'm excited about Black people.
That's what's up.
I love being Black.
Yep.
And my world is Black.
Yeah.
And so in my capacity as a co-founder of this company, I've had the blessing to help Black people better understand who we are. Mm-hmm. And so I partnered with an African-American geneticist who is one of the leading geneticists in the world in the study of lineages of African Americans and people of African descent, and was able to take his passion for transforming the lives of Black people and commercialize that in a way that has never been done before.
Wow.
And so I guess in addition to being a 20th century hip-hop loving chick, I'm also a pioneer.
Yes.
Because before February 13, 2003, there was absolutely no way for a person of African descent to know the present-day country and ethnic group in Africa that they share ancestry with.
Wow.
And we've made that possible.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Yes, indeed. And are you from this area?
I am. I'm a D.C. girl.
What?
DC.
2 in one day? Goodness.
I'm a D.C. girl. I grew up in D.C., left to go to college, business school, worked, and then came back to D.C. and lived in D.C. proper.
Great.
In 2003 when we launched the company. It was important for us for this to be a DC based company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. That's what's up. And I just for clarity, you know, I'm not from DC. I'm from Southeast. And I want you to know that DC does have like its own identity. So does Southeast. You know, to say that I'm from Southeast, you know, that's a strong statement many times. So we're making this strong statement yet again today, having 2 native DC women here who are still in the DC area, DC proper, some, and you know, we're excited to bring you on board and have you share with us what you're going to be sharing with us today. So I want to jump and I want to ask a couple of questions about the how this works. Okay. And I know I've got Heleese who's got like 1,000 questions. So I
know she's a journalist. I didn't realize that when I walked in. Now I'm a little nervous.
She has got like a log of questions. So I better let Heleese, you got a question for us?
Well, before we jump straight into what AfricanAncestry.com is and how you all do what you do, I am very curious to know what led you to this work, because I know that you've been a businesswoman prior to even doing this specific type of work. So I'm curious about what made you want to go in this direction.
That's a great question. Thank you. You're right. I am a businesswoman, and I come from a family of entrepreneurs. Okay. I don't think I realized how entrepreneurial my family was at the time. My grandparents owned a barbershop and grocery store in Philadelphia, and I knew that, but all of my aunts and uncles and my father, they also have had businesses ongoing. So I think there was this entrepreneurial spirit in my DNA that I didn't recognize existed. And I knew that I always wanted to have my own business, but I didn't know what that meant. So I went to college and majored in economics. I went to business school and got an MBA focused on marketing, and decided to go into Fortune 500 companies and understand how businesses are created, how product lines are launched. And did that for Sara Lee Bakery and also Colgate-Palmolive. So I learned from some very big brands. And I always intended that I was going to do that to learn, so that when I figured out what I wanted to do, I would be prepared. And so I tried some consulting. I started a smaller business, and then was introduced to Dr. Kittles. And he had this research that enabled Black people to understand where they're from. But he's a researcher. He's a geneticist, and business was not an area that he had a skill set in. And so we partnered, and I was able to finally find a place where I could use my skill set that I had worked on developing over all of those years to create something that has never existed before. You know, there's always, you know, a new type of dish liquid, but it's still just something to clean your dishes. There's a new format. You can have cheesecake in a bite or on a popsicle instead of in a pan, but it's still a cheesecake. But finding out where you're from is something that never existed before, and I was able to do that for a group of people I'm passionate about. So it's sort of an indirect way. I guess the ancestors led me here. Yeah. And I just listened.
I'm curious, as I listen to, you know, the process, why didn't you find me after all that marketing and experience and all that work that you're doing? Like, I didn't need some help with marketing and a business partner who could help me grow my business.
I wasn't in D.C. I was in Chicago and New York, and now I'm here. Now I'm home.
All right.
And we've connected.
I feel better now.
And I found out where you're from.
Yes. And that's key. And we're going to get to that. You mean you're going to tell me where I'm from? You know, I thought you were going to tell me where I'm from before we got on the air, so I could kind of know whether to get excited, who to call, who to tell, make sure they're listening, and all the rest of that. And it's going to be a secret. It's in that envelope?
It's in this envelope.
It's sealed in the envelope.
I wanted to be able to see your face.
Yes.
When you got the results. Everyone should be listening anyway.
Yes, everyone is listening. Now, I don't know, I'm not very emotional, so we'll work through it. Heleese, you got another question?
Why do you feel that it is important for African Americans to know about their history and to use science in order to trace those roots?
Heleese asked some good questions.
Heleese is on it.
So, there are a lot of parts to that answer.
Okay.
First of all, for now, most of us call ourselves African American. Mm-hmm. We know how to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. We can sing the national anthem at the Wizards game. We can name probably 5-6 presidents. Mm-hmm. We know our constitutional rights. We know everything about being American. And we know virtually nothing about the African. And so just on a basic level, if you're going to ascribe to an identity that says that has African in it, then you need to understand something about that African. And we're the only group in this country that can't point to a country of origin. Everybody else can say, people that we live with, work with, go to school with, I'm Italian American, I'm Russian American, I'm Jamaican, even though they go back before Jamaica as well. Whatever it is, I'm Mexican American. And then what do we say? We say we're African American. And that's dope because Africa's the best continent, right?
Right.
But it's a continent.
Right. It's not a country.
It's got over 50 countries and thousands of traditions and thousands of languages and cultural practices that are unique to who we are. And so it's important that we try and understand what that is. And so when you talked earlier, Dr. Baruch, about knowing the period in between our grandmothers and 2,000 years ago, there's not a lot of information.
Right.
You can go on these websites and go through the census records and marriage records and birth records. You can use a family Bible. There are lots of tools available. But for us as Black people in the Americas today, we weren't even recorded on a federal census until 1870. Wow. So, you can see that leaf on television, that company that advertises their leaf floating around, and it'll help you find your family tree. But if you're Black, chances are you're going to hit a brick wall.
Sure.
And so science is the only way right now that we have to reconnect. And thank God that there was a Black geneticist who wanted to know who he was and where he was from. Right. This was a very selfishly started company, if you will.
Yes.
I mean, Dr. Kittles wanted to know where he was from. Mm-hmm. And so he started compiling these lineages from Africa to be able to answer that question for himself. Mm-hmm. And as the database grew and as the community found out that this was possible, he started getting inundated with requests for them to know themselves. And so that was really the genesis of this company. For those of us who understand supply and demand, there was a very clear demand. And so it was up to us to create the supply.
Yeah, most definitely.
That was a long-winded answer, but there's a lot of levels to it. There are a lot of layers.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter is that all of us, you hear the claims that everybody's from Africa. Supposedly, right? Where everybody's from. So everybody can trace themselves back to Lucy or whomever it is this year. And so then do you only have people that look as dark as we do coming to you, or do you find lighter complected people who are saying, I want to know my connection to Africa too?
Yes, we do have all types of people that come to us, but the time frame of our analysis is 500 to 2,000 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So we all come from Africa 100,000 years ago.
Right.
For many of us that don't have melanin,
right.
That connection to Africa is much older than 2,000 years. And so we're not trying to connect everybody to Africa. We're actually trying to answer the question, we answer the question, where was my ancestry before the transatlantic slave trade?
That's what's up.
Before North Carolina, before Louisiana, before Mississippi, before Jamaica, before Haiti, before the Dominican Republic. Where was my ancestry? That's the question we're answering. So we can answer that question for anybody, but for people who don't consider themselves of African descent, the chances are the answer is Europe.
There you go. Real short. You're from Europe, obviously.
And you know what? They already know where they're from.
Yeah, you're
right.
They
can use their last names. They are in the census records. They have all the data, so they don't need science. The only reason we exist is because there's nothing else for Black people.
Well, we're gonna find out where I'm from, and I don't know quite how to set that up. I don't know whether to get. I don't know how to feel about that.
Well, where do you think? Why did you take the test? How about that?
Because I wanted to know where my roots were.
Why?
Because, like I said, I am more concerned about my connection to the last 4 generations of my family, of my lineage, than I am concerned about what happened, 100,000, 2,000, 5,000 years ago. I'm not as concerned. I want to know about the people that were here that still I can go and to the house that they lived in, because we still own that house, and I can feel the essence of their energy, and I'd like to connect up with them. And that kind of leads me into another question, but I'll continue answering yours. That was my motivation. I want to find out who I'm connected to, and I know this is going to connect my DNA to a region, and I'd like to learn about that culture, and I'd like to learn how because I didn't just do one test. I did the paternal and the maternal, because I want to find out, boom, I'm figuring I could go to those 2 countries and take 2 people, and I said, look, if you all get together right now, you from here and you from there, then you all will have me in 300, 400, 500 years.
And that's basically how it works too.
And it's pretty cool because it helps give you a sense of identity. It's like you can firmly say who you are, where you come from. Because even for me, people ask me all the time if I'm Ethiopian, and I say no, but I don't know. I don't really know where it traces all the way back to. So that's cool that you'll be able to find out where exactly you come from.
We're the original victims of identity theft.
Oh,
wow.
And that's why we don't know. And so, the FTC talks about when you are a victim of identity theft, how you should first figure out what happened and then get a recovery plan. And so our test is really part of that recovery plan. And not just for one person, but for an entire lineage. So when we give you your results, Dr. Baruch, they're not going to be just for you. They're going to be for everyone in your mother's family who descends from your grandmother and her mother. And on your father's side, they'll be the same for everyone in your family who descends from your father's father and his father. So that's a whole group of people.
Yes.
In the past, today, and in the future, who now have a renewed sense of identity, or who will come into the world knowing who they are.
Yeah, and I'm feeling it, and I'm wanting to see what it is. And there was a question off air. There was a question that was asked me, and I think it's kind of funny. Although, if that's the answer on air, that I'm not of African descent. it would be like a blank moment. We'd probably have to go to a commercial break.
Get ready, Heleese.
right,
station break.
I might not come back. I might go out and vote for Donald Trump. I don't know. I'm just saying. No telling what might happen between. No, but I think it's good.
But to that point about not being of African descent, so we're looking at a lineage, and if I could just take a second to kind of break that down.
Great.
We each have 2 parents, 4 grandparents, so now that's 4 lineages, 8 great-grandparents, and it keeps going. The number increases exponentially. So there are thousands of lineages or branches of the family tree that make up who we are. And those thousands of branches come from all different places. As being African American, inherent in that, there's some mixing, right? Because that's just what happened in America and continues to happen today. But what we know is that if we look at the branch of the tree that is mother to mother to mother to mother to mother, and there's DNA that you have, that we all have, that is unique to those women. Regardless of who our fathers are or who their fathers were, there is a little piece of DNA called mitochondrial DNA that we inherit from our mothers, that she got from her mother and it didn't change. She got from her mother and it didn't change, and so on and so on. So when we take that DNA and compare it to DNA from around the world, 92% of the black people that we test find African results on their maternal line. 6% of those people come back European, and 2% come back Native American. So we can't guarantee that we're going to find African results for that one branch, but for the maternal line, we usually do.
Okay.
And then the same thing happens on the father side. You can look father to father to father to father, and for that we use the Y chromosome, and that's the one thing that everybody remembers from biology, right?
Yes.
That women have 2 X's and men have a Y. That Y is what makes males males.
Right.
It has the gene for not asking for directions, for example.
Absolutely.
So
when not getting emotional.
Not getting emotional, leaving the toilet seat up, all those things.
Toilet paper roll this way, not that way. Yep, I got you.
So we looked at your Y chromosome. You have the same Y chromosome as your father and his father and his father. Now, when we do that analysis for black men, 65% of the time it comes back African, and 35% of the time it comes back European. So there's more of a chance that we find European ancestry on a paternal line. And that should make sense to your listeners, even just intellectually, with the behavior of slaveholders and slave traders during the period of slavery in the Americas. There were far more white men who were fathering children with brown women than white women who were mothering children with brown men. That doesn't even sound right, but that if it comes back European, that doesn't mean you're not black. Doesn't mean you don't have any African ancestry. It just means that there was a white man in your family tree.
Well, we can all expect that there's probably been a white man in our family tree, and I don't think about that a lot.
But some people flip out.
Yeah, no. My grandmother was as white as driven snow. Well, not quite, but she was very, very, very fair, and she had very, very long hair. She had the high cheekbones of a Native American, so we knew that there was something going on, some mixing going on in there, and but we also knew that, her energy, her spirit, her lips were that of an African. We knew, Granny was one of us. And so did they, But this is. I almost feel like at times you're trying to let me down easy, And I'm.
Now I'm talking to your listeners.
Oh, okay. Because I'm
not to you.
I'm narcissistic, and that I think everything is about me, right? So I'm just listening, and I'm like, she's about to tell me that on my paternal side, I've got a white daddy, and on my maternal side, I got a white mama. And I'm like, I'm somewhere from like Italy.
Oh, that would make you unique.
That would make me
even more unique.
Probably some other things too. I kind of was hoping, You are from the cold black people of Senegal. Okay, great. There we go.
You might be.
I might be. And we're gonna find out. As a matter of fact, you know what we should do is why don't we look now?
Okay.
Let's find out. Let's go ahead and let's reveal that.
Okay.
We're about to reveal what's going to happen, and I'm going to let you set it up too. But what's going to happen is we are about to find out who I am connected to. Can I get a tissue? A couple of them. We're going to find out who I am connected to. What is my DNA lineage prior to my existence here? And I don't even know. And I asked to know.
Yeah, I just opened the envelope.
Right. I asked Gina if she would let me know so that we could kind of maybe set this up and make this more. And she said, no, that's not how this works. So she's about to let me know who I am connected to. Gina, go ahead, set it up for us.
So we did both tests for you. This one test, the first one I'll do is your paternal. That is tracing father to father to father on back.
I tell you what, let's take a commercial break. For those of you who really want to know, you all hang on. We got a cliffhanger for you. Who is Dr. Baruch connected to DNA genetically? You all stay tuned. We're going to be right back with more of the... Oh, you know what? I wasn't supposed to say that. I was supposed to like do a winky winky.
And like Heleese do it. It's all good.
It's all good. You want me to... Okay, great. So we're going to be right back with more of the... I said Dr. Baruch, Not on My Watch show here on the eLife Media Network. You all stay tuned for my DNA, African ancestry, who I'm connected to results. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Not on My Watch show with Dr. Baruch. We are about to reveal Dr. Baruch's maternal and paternal ancestries.
I am overwhelmingly kind of uncomfortable because you think you know everything about yourself, but I just wonder whether this is going to reveal something about me that will damage me. Am I going to be damaged? Is there any chance that this? It's kind of like finding out that you got the guy in the neighborhood. Anyway, let me stop.
Where do you think you're from? When you took this, did you have any?
I have no clue. I never even thought about it. I'm one of those, just like you said, I was, I know my grandmother. I know my grandmother's on both sides. I only met my grandfather on my mother's side. I knew of my grandfather on my father's side. I keep things. I'm one of those type person where somebody will say, this was grandpa's favorite, toothpick. I'm going to get that. I'll take that toothpick. I'm going to keep this toothpick in my drawer, and I'm going to touch it every once in a while so I can feel his essence and energy. And that's my connection. So I do think it's significant where I'm from. But I don't know. Beyond Virginia and New York, St. Kitts and Bermuda before New York, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, when we looked at your father's line, that Y chromosome,
yes.
You were part of the 35% of people that we find in Europe. So we found matches of your Y chromosome with people living in Spain and Portugal today.
Donald Trump. I'm gonna vote for Donald Trump. I'm an undercover brother. So okay, wait a minute. Let's think about that. So Spain and Europe. So obviously then we would go back on my father's side and realize that at some point one of the slave drivers, I don't like to use the M word, so we'll call them slave drivers, impregnated my father's mother.
At some point. We can't say which generation it was, but it was some point in the past 500 years.
So a whole nother energy when somebody asks, who's your daddy? Some white guy from Spain, from Portugal, from Morocco. Now, what were those areas again?
Spain and Portugal.
Spain and Portugal. Okay.
Yep.
That's what's up. And how many years ago would you say that?
Again, it's a range, so it's anywhere from 500 to 2,000 years. We can't be specific in terms of generations because the margin of error is just too wide when you try to do that. Okay. So, so that's your paternal ancestry.
So now I got to go
Welcome
back to Spain.
Welcome to the African Ancestry family.
Thank you. And I feel a lot more African now.
I think that we're cousins in some way because I have a Portuguese paternal ancestor. My mother's father's line is Portuguese. Oh, okay. But that actually wasn't a surprise because my grandfather had always been told that his grandfather was a Portuguese stonemason. Oh, okay. So
I've never been told that I had any connection to Spain or Portugal. Okay. So that's good. And I don't even know that so I'm processing this now. So now in my mind I'm having to now retool my thinking and redirect some of my energy to the fact that somewhere in there, and maybe it's not a good connection. Maybe I'm not excited about that.
And
I'm not excited about the fact that some guy raped, my great grandmother and is now my father as a result of my great whatever father as a result of that. But I would expect it. We have to expect that in America after what we've been through. So I would not have expected, everything to just give me a clear shot back to the west coast of Africa. That would have been nice. But with my skin tone and with this bad hair that I got, people always call my hair good hair. I wish we would refer to it as bad hair so that, I would feel better about my African lineage. And not my Spain and Portugal.
So now if we were to trace your father's mother's line, so if we were to look at your grandmother's line on that side of the family, we would find something different. So you see how this is, again, just one part of your paternal history.
And the only way to do that is if he's alive.
Well, you could use him, or you could use any of his brothers or sisters.
None.
Or if he had sisters, did he have sisters?
No.
Okay. Because you could have used one of his sister's children. So you'd have to find somebody. So this becomes a genealogy project in a sense. If your grandmother had sisters who had children, you could use one of them. So there are ways to get, so by learning your ancestry on a single lineage, it sometimes often motivates people to study their family trees more closely.
And I do have the family tree for my father's side of the family.
So we could find somebody probably who could take that test.
Sure.
So now we also traced your maternal line, as I said, and this is your mother, her mother, her mother, her mother. And that one we did find in Africa. We found it in West Africa, in the most populous country on the continent.
Nigeria?
The 5th largest trading partner with the United States, oil trading partner. And yes, it's Nigeria, since you guessed, the Fulani people living in Nigeria today. Okay. And so while, I'm sure that there are Fulani, the Fulani are nomads. So they travel all over the continent. We have Fulani in Mali. We have Fulani in Senegal. You'll find Fulani in Guinea-Bissau. You'll find Fulani in Cameroon, in many different countries. But because African Ancestry has the largest database of indigenous African lineages in the world, we have over 33,000. We actually have DNA from Fulani in those different countries. And so the DNA that we matched with yours is from Fulani living in Nigeria today. Wow. So, and I'll say that we found an identical match. So that means that there's somebody living in Nigeria today who has the exact same portion of mitochondrial DNA sequence that you have. Wow. It's exactly the same. Wow. So you have to be related. So is it just one
person?
Well, no. Oh, there'll be several people, but I was
going to say, wow. I'm going to Nigeria soon.
Because these are families.
Yes.
So do you have siblings?
Yes.
You and your siblings have the exact same mitochondrial DNA, and your mother and her siblings and your cousins, all of you have this exact same mitochondrial DNA.
Wow.
And so there are people living in Nigeria today who are Fulani who have the exact same sequence as yours.
Wow. So when I was in Sierra Leone, I guess 93, when I'm riding around with we had a escort wherever we were going, but you would hear people say Fula man, Fula, and you're smiling at everybody. So you wanting to be pleasant. I didn't quite know whether it was like fool or whatever until I learned later that no, you look like a Fulani. You look like one of the Fula people. Wow. So there's significance. I feel better now. I mean, not that Spain and Portugal aren't some great places to be connected to, but Nigeria, I'm about to go into the oil business just so I can be a part of my lineage and that business mind that has those people making so much money in Nigeria.
Well, I'll partner with you on that.
That's what's up.
So this is a results package for you. This is a certificate of ancestry, and the paternal one is behind that. These are the letters that come with all the results, and then we also have an online community. So hopefully you'll join the online community, and you can share resources with other people who have traced their ancestry through us across the continent of Africa, but even specifically to the Fulani in Nigeria. And I brought you a T-shirt.
Oh, wow.
So I brought you a Nigeria T-shirt. So when you want to represent Nigeria and you don't want to wear, and you want to wear a T-shirt, you can rock that.
There you go.
So welcome again
Nigerian
to the family.
Nice.
I won't tell everybody I'm from any place else other than Nigeria.
Yeah, that's fine. That's the good thing about identity, right? It's a constantly evolving narrative of self. So we get to define who we are ourselves. So you can define yourself as a Nigerian American.
There we go. Oh, that's what's up. I like that.
So you feel better?
Yeah, I feel better. I feel a lot better. Yeah, my mother's listening too, so she's feeling better too. Right, Mom? Okay.
It's interesting because people either don't have any feelings about what they're going to find, or they're super excited and they have an idea about what we'll find, but you really can't grasp the magnitude until you know.
I'm going to Nigeria. It's already, now that has become a place where I need to go, and I don't know how you're going to help me find that group of people that have my DNA, or whether they'll just find me. They'll be like, hey, you, come here.
Well, we traveled to Cameroon in 2010 with a delegation of 50 African Americans that we had traced to Cameroon.
Wow.
And when we all met at Dulles Airport, we were just, because my ancestry is actually Nigerian too, so we're cousins, Fulani cousins. They considered themselves African Americans who had Cameroonian ancestry. Then when the plane landed in Douala, they were Cameroonian Americans. There was this collective decision on the plane that they were Cameroonian Americans. After 10 days of traveling throughout Cameroon, they were then Camericans. So they had gone from African Americans to Cameroonian Americans to Camericans. And so much so that now the Cameroonian community here in the DMV and even up along the northeast corridor and the embassy refer to people who have taken our test as Camericans. That's a whole new identity that has been created as a result of people's excitement about reconnecting to their countries of ancestry. And as we were traveling through, people saw familiar faces, oh, you look like my cousin, or oh, we look alike. So wow. I think that even though at this point we can't get you back to the exact person because our database was collected anonymously. So had we the names and addresses and emails 20 years ago when this database was created, we could give you that information, but it really doesn't matter.
Right.
Because they still see us as family and we still see them as family. And that's another reason why this work is so important, because just like we're not taught anything positive about Africa, they're taught very little positive about us as Black Americans. And so by connecting to our ancestry, we can start to dispel and destroy these stereotypes that we have of one another and really make a difference globally as Black people.
Yeah, that's what's up. And again, I thank you. And it's still vibrating in me. I can tell you when you first started, I was sweating. I was like, what am I sweating for?
It's hot in here.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I'm sweating too.
But I normally don't sweat. I could tell this was like this nervous sweat, like I'm sweating. But that's good. I'm glad that I know, and I don't like to, I don't like something to be of no value. So I want to make sure that I hold it in high esteem, and I hold it and I lift it up, and I remind people and I let people know. Mm-hmm. So it'll be good to be able to let people know that, I'm a Nigerian American. You're from Nigeria? Yeah, they're going to start talking their language and be like, no.
Well, the good news is that's an English-speaking country, so at least you can communicate better than if it was French-speaking or Portuguese or...
Yes. Heleese, what you got to say?
That's awesome. I'm a little jealous. So I wish I knew where I came from now.
Well, you don't have to wonder for too long.
Yes, I will be on AfricanAncestry.com putting in my information so I could figure this out. I do have another question. I'm curious to know how you feel knowing your lineage has changed your life. Like, what difference has it made for you? I guess Dr. Baruch can answer that question now, too.
Like I said, I think it's going to happen. Because I think about all the Nigerian people that I know, and I'm like, I can't wait to let them know, that I'm family, So we got another kind of connection. All of my rich oil tycoon Nigerian friends that live here in Prince George's County, you will be getting a call. We need to sit down and sip some tea, talk about how we're going to work this out going forward.
Oh, goodness. Well, for me, when we first started, actually, my parents took the test, so I haven't taken it myself, but I didn't have to because they did it. And I have my grandparents on my father's side were living, and one of them still is when we started, as well as my grandmother on my mother's side. And so once my mother found out one line and my father found out one line, then my grandparents each wanted to know their other line, right? Okay. Because when my mother took the test, my grandmother then knew her maternal line, but she wanted to know her paternal line. Okay. So I ended up knowing 7 lineages, 7 of my 8 great-grandparents, and 4 of them are Nigerian. And when we first launched, we used to give away the Encarta Africana DVD that was created by Dr. Gates. And one day, an older gentleman called, and he said, I don't have a computer. You told me my results were Hausa. Can you tell me about the Hausa people? And that's my paternal ancestry is Hausa. And to be honest, I hadn't done any research because this was early in the company. All I was doing was making sure results got out the door and, that we could keep the lights on and all of that. And so I opened up the DVD and started reading to him what the Encarta Africana said about the Hausa. And one part of it said that the women were the business people of the culture. And that gave me goosebumps because I, as I told you from the beginning, I've always considered myself an entrepreneur. And so on the days when this can be very difficult, as I'm sure you know, as an entrepreneur, and you're thinking, what in the world was I thinking? Why am I doing this? I don't care if anybody else knows where they're from today. Right. Just that utmost frustration. I remember that I didn't choose to do this. This chose me.
In your blood.
It's in my DNA.
Yeah.
And so that helps to keep me motivated to continue.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is. And again, for those of you who may have just tuned in, this is Sister Gina Paige, who is in the studio with Heleese and myself, and she's talking to us about a company that she owns or co-owns called AfricanAncestry.com. Black Ancestry. Anyway, but AfricanAncestry.com. And we have just revealed to myself who it is that I'm connected to. What is my DNA connection to the world? And I now know that I'm on my paternal side, it's Portugal and Spain. And on my maternal side, there's somebody over there with my DNA in Nigeria. And that's special. That's special. We're going to make sure we frame these and put this up because, like you said, that's my siblings and all my children would then have the same paternal and not maternal but paternal.
But your mother is still their grandmother.
Oh yeah,
and they still got 25% of their DNA from her.
Okay.
So while if they took the test through their mother, they will find a different place, most likely. This Fulani is still part of who they are.
Okay.
So it's still shared by them. And there's one thing that I wanted to just make sure that I shared with your listeners, if you don't mind. There are other companies out there that have a lot more money to spend on advertising. They're backed by private equity firms or, very deep pockets from investors like Google and the such. And they'll tell you that they can tell you your African ancestry. And so you'll get a nice breakdown that you're, 75% African, 25% European. And then within Africa, they've broken Africa up into 9 regions, and they give you some percentages of that. And so people are walking around having taken that test because it's only $99 and saying, oh, well, I'm from Benin, Nigeria. I'm from Togo and Ghana. And I just want them to understand that that test is based on 494 samples. 494. So based on 494 people spread across 9 regions of Africa, you've been given some percentages. What our test does is it, based on 33,000 samples, gets you very specific to a present day country and an ethnic group. So there's a huge difference.
Sure.
And that stems from the purposes of the companies, right? Our purpose is to help Black people feel good about who we are and to better understand who we are. The other companies are either trying to help you find your 5th or 6th cousin, which we won't do because that's not why we're in business, or, gather your genetic information for health research. And in exchange, they'll give you these percentages. So we're all DNA testing companies, but we each answer a very different question. And so if you want to know if you have African ancestry, where it is, and who the people are, then AfricanAncestry.com is the only company that will be able to answer that question.
How's business?
It's great. We're actually up this year. We've been in business 13 years, and so that is phenomenal in and of itself. People always say that Black people don't support Black businesses, but we wouldn't be here if Black people didn't support Black businesses. And I believe that Black businesses should support Black people as well.
Yes.
So we're excited. We are looking at how we can expand and do more, provide more information to our family members about who they are, not just ancestrally, but health-wise. And so we're moving into that area soon. So we're excited there. And with all the media coverage, African American Lives, Finding Your Roots, those shows on PBS that use our tests, these tests, that always helps. Roots helped to raise awareness about the fact that this is possible. So things are well.
Great. Heleese? I'm sorry, I always catch you off guard, right?
No.
Oh, you.
She's just trying to figure which one of these 20 questions.
And she's got them.
We are both curious to know what has been the most challenging part of this process for you. I'm sure you've endured some sort of struggle. It hasn't been all roses.
Oh, yeah. No roses. No, times like these are the roses. Because usually I'm behind my desk, trying to keep the business flowing smoothly. I would have to say that the most difficult part of this process, besides just the ins and outs of running a business on a daily basis and a business that deals with consumers on, everyday people on a daily basis, has been helping Black people to understand that where you're from in Africa is important. It's not a common thought. I don't think the masses believe that one, that we're from Africa, 2, know anything about Africa, or 3, that that's a positive thing.
Wow.
And that's just not true. Everything that makes us great comes from our Africanness.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And things that we don't even know, our names, our hairstyles, the kind of music we listen to, the foods we eat, the tradition, you know, the way we celebrate birthdays, the way we celebrate marriages, the way we celebrate, the way we celebrate, period. All of those things are influenced by our Africanness, and we don't even know it. And we're walking around often with a victim mentality, thinking that our slavery, our history began with slavery.
Right.
And once you find out where you're from, you just found out you're from Nigeria, you're going to study the Fulani.
Yes.
You're going to study Nigeria. You're going to learn things about Nigeria and the Fulani people that are going to empower you. Mm-hmm. And just add to the foundation of success that you've already created for yourself. And so that's been the hardest part, because we don't have $1 million of advertising budgets to just blanket the airwaves and make it cool and make it hip. And we rely on a grassroots effort, but that's where it has to start, because there's a lot of education that has to be done. So in addition to helping people be enlightened as to where they're from, we've also increased the genetic literacy of hundreds of thousands of Black people. Now people are starting to talk about their DNA in positive ways. In 2003, there wasn't a whole lot of positivity surrounding how our genetic material has been used. And today we're starting to see that there are ways to use it for our benefit, ancestrally, identity-wise, health-wise. And so we're very proud of that. But it has been hard.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely grateful that you made the sacrifices you made to do the work that you're doing. So thank you for that, because it counteracts, like you said, the fact that slavery is perpetrated so much. Like, you know, in the movies, all you hear about is like 12 years a slave. You were a slave. Remember, you were a slave. Right. Or even being in school, when you learn about Black history, you learn about a few people, maybe Martin Luther King, maybe Rosa Parks, but you're mostly learning about slavery. So having this resource to remind us that we come from before slavery, we come from kings and queens, we come from a whole entire different perspective. Just having that as a tool and a resource to build our community back up is amazing and essential. So thank you so much for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, slavery happened to us.
Yes.
That's all. It's just another point along the way. It didn't make us who we are.
Right.
Agreed.
Right.
We made it what it was, really. All our free labor.
Yep. I have a, I can commiserate when you talked about business, and when you have a business that when we first started, we thought, man, this is perfect. Everybody in our community is sick, and everybody needs to eat healthy food to get better. This is a no-brainer. And I can imagine at times you were probably in a space where you thought that this is going to go over so well, because everybody wants to be connected to then the continent or wherever we're connected to. We want that connection. And one of the big bonuses that we engaged was our collaborative efforts with people like Dr. Jewel Pookrum and people like Dr. Laila Africa and our now late Dr. Sabi, who came in and started giving validity to the position that we have and to the business that we chose to be in. And I think that's I know you're doing it, and that you're connecting up with people that are doing this on the national and international television level. I think that's a great thing. I want to ask you a question. How do you see yourself being local here to the DMV, connecting up with local businesses where you can take advantage of what we're doing, and we likewise can take advantage of what it is that you've created?
That's a great question. I actually was thinking about that in coming, preparing to come to your show, because I travel all over the country, educating people about the importance of knowing where you're from. And we have people who from all over the world who have taken our test. And as I was driving over here, I was like, I really don't come out to Everlasting Life that much. I mean, it is kind of a hike for real,
right.
from my neighborhood. But we need to do more of that. We do partner with organizations in terms of doing presentations, offering discounts, and even these kinds of reveals to help show and illuminate what it actually is and what the impact can be. So I'm definitely open to deepening my local collaborations, because I am spread wide, but I am not as deep as I could be, especially here in DC, because we those of us who are left are a fairly enlightened group of people, and there are a lot of people that we have partnered with in DC. So we'll just have to add you and your network to the list.
There we go, and I look forward to it. And for those of you who are wanting to learn more about AfricanAncestry.com, Sister Gina Paige, where would they find you? How do they contact you? And how does that work?
So we're online at AfricanAncestry.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. You can call our office at 202-723-0900. And what I would like to do, we didn't talk about this in advance.
We're not done. We're not done yet.
I would like to offer a discount to your listeners.
Oh, okay. Great.
So we'll make the promotional code Dr. Baruch. How about that?
There we go.
And I'll set it up before the show is over.
Okay.
And so anyone who wants to purchase a test kit and uses the code Dr. Baruch will receive a $25 discount.
All right. Awesome. There you go. And I do not want to end, because I do have a couple of other questions, but I want us to take a break. I do want to let our audience know if they would want to dial in and ask a question or make a comment. You can do so at 245-455-5934. Again, 240-455-5934. If you'd like to join in on our conversation. And but let's take a station break, and let's come on back. Let's regroup, and let's talk more about what it is that you're doing and how what you're doing can benefit this vast audience of people that are looking at this today, but also will be looking at this tomorrow and next week and maybe next year, because this is going to be hard-coded out on the internet. So we want to make sure that they know why this is such a significant thing and why we've chosen to make this our show topic for the day and our guest for the day.
Let's do it.
Heleese?
Yes.
That's the winky winky.
Oh, for a commercial break?
Yes.
I thought you just did it.
I did it, but I was going to let you do it again because I set it all up for you.
Well, you all stay tuned. We'll be back with the wonderful Gina Paige from AfricanAncestry.com.
You all stay tuned. We're going to be right back with more of the Not On My Watch show as we are interviewing Gina Paige of AfricanAncestry.com. We'll be right back. We are back with the Not On My Watch show with the Nigerian doctor, Dr. Baruch from Nigeria. I got to check that out. It's a pivotal year for me, so this is really good. This may really play into this pivot I'm about to move on. And we have in the studio the illustrious Gina Paige from African Ancestry. Lord have mercy. AfricanAncestry.com. AfricanAncestry.com. That's what happens when those commercials run. Yeah. You get so much commercial, and before you know it, sodas are Coke as opposed to just sodas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have my co-host Heleese. Yes. Journalist extraordinaire with all the, really, really thought-provoking questions over there. You are making me look like a co-host over here. You're the anchor. But I wanted to ask you, Gina, as you've worked with a lot of people, and a lot of people, you don't have to be rich or you don't have to be poor to want to know where you're from. Who are some of the, maybe the more significant celebrities or people in our world that have come through you to find out their African ancestry?
Well, the dearest one to my heart is LeVar Burton. Oh. When we first started this company, we launched it with $1,200 and our database. And so we didn't raise any outside funds. We self-funded. Every test paid for itself. And we didn't have much of a marketing budget, but we had a PR person. And so the media was referring to us as the 21st century roots. And so we thought, well, who could we get to take this test? Of course, everybody wants Oprah, but it's not that simple. But we thought, what if we could tell Kunta Kinte where he was from? And so LeVar Burton actually agreed. He was our first celebrity to take the test. And we traced him to the Yoruba people in Nigeria. Ultimately, we did get Miss Oprah Winfrey to take our test through the African American Lives special, the first one that was on PBS, and we traced her to the Pele people living in Liberia today. She was actually disappointed because she wanted to be South African, which was a little confusing to me.
No comment.
Because we all know that we came from West Africa. But, she may be South African on a different branch. We only looked at one. Some of your Nigerian cousins would be Carla Hall, the chef. Carla is, we traced her ancestry to the Yoruba. Eve, the rapper Eve. Leela James, the singer Leela James, she's Cameroon. But of course, she's Nigeria. We've found people from all over the continent. Nate Parker is getting ready to release Birth of a Nation. We traced him to Cameroon. Forrest Whitaker, we've traced to Ghana. Jim Brown, we traced to Nigeria. The Hall of Famer, actor, football player. Questlove, we traced to Sierra Leone. Bobby Rush, Congressman Bobby Rush, we traced to Ghana. So, I mean, pretty much anybody who's found out where in Africa they're from has come through African Ancestry.
That's it.
Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, our ancestor now, we traced her to Sierra Leone.
Okay.
Tony Browder has taken our test. We traced him to both Cameroon on one line and Nigeria on another. So even local people here who are dedicated to helping to increase the consciousness of Black people are part of the family.
Yeah, that's what's up. I like that. I like that I'm a part of a family, and that's what this is going to do, right? You said that there's a way for me to be connected and stay connected. Yes.
So we have an online community. I think it's on the back of this. Yeah, you can join our online community, and that's where people who have taken our test are going and sharing resources about topics that they're interested in, information about the countries, about the people. People are traveling and sharing that information. People are there's one guy in particular, Randy White, who once we traced his ancestry to Guinea-Bissau. I don't remember the people. I think it was the Balanta. He started going every year to Guinea-Bissau, which is probably the poorest of the African countries. They don't even have a political presence here. No consulate, no embassy. And he takes school supplies every year to a community in Guinea-Bissau. So people are doing all sorts of things once they know where they're from and posting that information in the online community.
Wow. Yeah. Well, those are thoughts that I have as well. How then can I reconnect and close that loop and begin to, like a puzzle, begin to put other pieces together in this puzzle. At some point, I'm sure I'll figure out how then to grab one of my cousins or one of my aunts or uncles and get them to do the test so that we can broaden this and find out where the other branches or some of the other branches may go. And this is really exciting to be a part of a community of people. And just as we're in search of them, is there anybody that's in search of us in the business world? I'm thinking, like through you, hey, we'd love to connect it with all of the Nigerian folk because we'd love to do something, so on.
Yeah, I was just in Atlanta last week. I was doing a reveal for Rick Mathis. He is the director of the film Black Friday about financial literacy and Black economic empowerment. And we traced him to the Akan people living in Ghana today. We had gotten some people from the Ghanaian community to come to support him in that reveal. And the president of the association said in March of 2017, we're going to take to Ghana all the people that you've traced to Ghana. So he wants to work with us to identify those people so that they can take them home.
Yes.
And have an experience unlike any other experience you'll ever have. And I think one thing that's important, and I'm sure it's important for your listeners, Dr. Baruch and Heleese, is that our process is completely confidential. When you send in your swabs, they're in a bar-coded envelope that has no personally identifying information. We send that envelope to the lab that we subcontract. And they have no idea who you are. Once they've determined the sequence and provided us with the data, your swabs are destroyed and your genetic material is destroyed. So we make it a point to destroy the genetic material at the lab. But people, so I just wanted to say that as an aside. So when this guy wants to talk to people we've traced to Ghana, he has to go through me because I don't sell or share any of your personal information. So we'll put that call out to everybody and say, if you want to go, then you can contact this community. We have people who are travel agents who find out about us because someone takes our test and then calls them and says, I just took this test. I found out I'm from Gabon and I want to go on a trip there. And then we have partnerships with some of the embassies, like we talked about Cameroon, so that we can periodically facilitate interactions between like National Day celebrations and then the people living here.
Yeah, that's exciting.
So, and excuse me, I know you were talking about the process, so just so that the listeners can be like 100% clear, if they want to know how to do this, like what is that beginning to end process?
Okay, so we sell test kits. So you would decide first, you'd go to our website, read about us, make sure you understand what you're doing, and then you would decide whether you want to trace your mother's line or your father's line. And women, we don't have that Y chromosome. So if we want to know our paternal roots, we need a male relative to take the test for us. Okay. We need our fathers, our brothers, uncles, cousins, those kinds of guys. So then you'd order a test kit. We send you the kit. You just swab the inside of your cheek with Q-tip-like swabs. You did it, Dr. Baruch. Yes. There's no blood. It's easy, painless, simple. And then you send them back to us. And then from that point that we receive your swabs, it takes approximately 6 to 8 weeks to get the results. Okay. And then we mail the results to you. All right. And it's great for things like family reunions because, you know, if I go to the Paige family reunion, I can take the Paige ancestry results, and everybody at the reunion who's a Paige now knows where they're from. Yeah. Birthday celebrations, holidays, back to school is a really interesting time. We see a bump because our kids today go to school in these multicultural environments, and they have Ancestry Day or International Day, and the black parents are like, let me grab some kente cloth, or, you know, wear this kufi. Let's just talk about Ghana. And our kids feel left out because their classmates all know where they're from, and they don't until now. And it's even something that you can do with your child. So your child can do the swabbing. So now it's a science lesson. They're actually learning about DNA and how their DNA connects them, not just to the family, but to the world.
And does the
go ahead. No, go ahead.
And the package includes the same things as Dr. Baruch's,
right. So when you get your results, you get a letter of Ancestry that has the results. You get a certificate. You get a brochure that explains the science. And I brought him a T-shirt, but you could certainly purchase the T-shirt to rep on the website on AfricanAncestry.com. Awesome.
And this is my DNA sequencing here. This is not just specific to what it is that you're looking for. What I'm looking at in these sequences is my DNA sequencing.
So on your letter, we include that portion of your DNA sequence. So our DNA is made up of over 3 billion pairs, base pairs of chemicals. We look at, for maternal ancestry, we look at 400. So you don't have to worry about us cloning your DNA, or, you know, I say that because we get calls. What are you going to do with my DNA? Are you going to clone me? Blah, blah. So it's a very small portion, and then we show you the mutations or the areas on your DNA that are unique to the people that you matched. So where you see the bold letters, that represents the part of your sequence that makes you share ancestry with those Fulani we found in Nigeria.
Okay, yeah. So you all out there in the viewing and listening audience, you all need to make sure that you go to AfricanAncestry.com and let them know that Dr. Baruch sent you. Please use that code so that you can
Baruch,
get
the DRBARUCH.
There
right?
you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
And make sure you get that and know who you are and whose you are, where you're from. And it might kind of change your course. You know, you might begin to activate some energy. You might find out that you're from the highly spiritual people from Benin, for instance, and you might start realizing that you have the wherewithal to read minds and to teleport yourself, because that's what people say that they used to be able to do.
Nice.
So, yeah. And again, we're very thankful. for you doing this and sharing with us this information. And I know Heleese has a boatload of other questions that she could ask you. We're going to do those off air. Is that cool, Heleese?
Yeah, most definitely.
All right, great. And I want to thank Gina, Paige, and I want to thank AfricanAncestry.com for allowing us this opportunity to be exposed to something that is very, very significant here on the Not On My Watch show, where we don't let it happen without us bringing it to your attention. Sister Gina, thank you.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for taking the test and sharing the experience, because I know that sometimes that can be very personal, so I appreciate your willingness to share.
And you made it easy for me. You know, I'm appreciative of how you set things up so that I would not find myself like running out the glass, not out the door, but just running right straight through the glass. Oh my God! That means Christopher Columbus and I. Anyway, but Heleese, anything to say before we close out? And you can close this out after you say whatever you have to say.
Definitely a huge thank you, of course, for all the work that you've done for everyone within our communities. And I wish you the best with the future. I hope that you all have nothing but success from this point forward.
Thank you. We will. I received that.
Yes, most definitely. And thank you all for listening. Please be sure to tune in next Tuesday and Wednesday for the Dr. Baruch show and the Not On My Watch show.
Great. Thank you all. Bye-bye.